Bonjour! Did you know it was forbidden to photograph the Eiffel Tower at night? Well, I didn't. And we say no one is supposed to ignore the law. And yet, some laws are still in force in France and seem totally absurd, even embarrassing, or from another era, that we cannot apply today. I'm Giga, a French serial expat that lived the culture shock in the UK, Spain, Argentina, Brazil, and also Ireland. I am also a global mobility professional, and I now help English-speaking expats to decode the French culture and administration to thrive in France. If you'd like to understand better the French and need some tips to sort out your French admin, you can like these videos and subscribe to my channel to encourage me. Merci! So is that true that we cannot photograph the Eiffel Tower? Well, yes and no. There is no ban during daytime. Know that the Eiffel Tower is considered a work of art, and fortunately, it is no longer subject to copyright today. Gustave Eiffel, the engineer who built it, died in 1923, so over 70 years ago. That means that the copyright doesn't apply anymore. So you can freely photograph it from all angles as long as it's not illuminated. Since 1985, when the night comes, the Eiffel Tower lights up by 280 projectors and sparkles thanks to 20,000 LED bulbs. But why is it forbidden to take pictures? Well, quite simply because this lighting is considered as a creation, so it is protected by copyright. And this makes it forbidden to photograph the Eiffel Tower and its lights when they're on and broadcast the pictures. In theory, the law obliges every tourist, everyone really, to ask for permission from the creators of the lights and also pay a fee. If this was strictly applied to private individuals, this regulation would require a great deal of organization. Incredible, isn't it? So if you plan to sell pictures of the Eiffel Tower at night, check the French copyright law first if you want to be on the good side of it. Second law, French radios have to broadcast 60% of French songs. Since 1996, there have been quotas on radio stations for French language songs. This is meant to protect music sung in French or French regional language. This excludes French artists who sing in another language. There is also a quota of new music, songs less than 9 months old. This means that the radio can not only broadcast the 10 most popular French songs to fill in the quotas, but they also have to give a chance to the new francophone artists. Don't think all the radios in France have to follow this quota. If you listen to the radio here, you clearly see that this is not 60% of French language songs applied. There are actually 3 levels of quotas, and 60% is the strictest. That only applies to a few radio stations that are considered as heritage stations, like Nostalgie and Chérie FM. So if you like French music, this might be a good option for you, but sometimes a bit outdated for my taste, but a good way to discover French music anyway. The quota that applies to the most radio stations is actually 40% of French songs and 20% of new or emerging artists. And the last quota is 35% of French songs with 25% novelties. Third law, and quite a funny one I think. No alcoholic beverages are allowed in the workplace. If you work in France, you may already have experienced the Christmas apéro or some internal events with alcohol in the workplace.
Un chiffre maintenant, 92% des salariés reconnaissent avoir participé à un pot au sein de leur entreprise.
So are all these companies outlaws? There is indeed a law forbidding alcohol in the workplace, but with an exception for wine, beer, cider and perry. Who said the wine was alcohol, especially in France? Well, I guess a few employers, since there has been a small update in 2014, and I quote, authorizes the employers, when health and safety of the employees is at stake, to take the necessary measures via internal regulations. Hilarious! You see, the health and safety has to be at stake. It's hard to totally forbid 1 glass of wine in France. Number 4. It is forbidden to be naked at home. So in France, you can be naked or half naked on the beach, but not at home. The penal code is quite clear. As soon as you can be seen, it is forbidden to be naked. And nudist beaches, they have specific authorization. And trying to break this law can cost you a fine of up to 15,000 euros and 1 year in prison. So you see, being topless on the beach is quite rebellious. Whether you make a spectacle of yourself or just get out of the shower naked, you can be punished. And even your flatmate can press charges against you. So make sure you have curtains at your bathroom and bedroom window if you have facing neighbors. Number 5. Mom and dad can oppose the marriage of their child. If your dream is to get married in France with your French other half, you'd better get on well with your in-laws. By French law, the father, mother, and in their absence the grandparents may oppose the marriage of their children, even if they are of age. So this can make relations with one's daughter-in-law or son-in-law somewhat tense, don't you think? Number 6. This is often thought that France forbade ketchup at school canteens. In 2011, this new law got some ink flowing. It was said that France forbade ketchup from all schools in France as a war against junk food. I believe this is something the French would be able to do. I'm not myself a big ketchup fan, but I still find it very good with nice chips or fries, depending on where you're from. When in reality, the government decided to regulate the menus in the primary schools canteens, and the ketchup, together with the mayonnaise and the vinaigrette, are no longer available on self-service. They are still served, depending on the menu, but with limited portions. Number 7. The owner of a property is also the owner of its top and its bottom. This means that on top of owning a property, the person also owns its airspace as well as its underground space. But if you were to start the wonderful adventure of oil exploration or gold, who knows, you should know that you need to be authorized by the state to do so. Number 8. It is forbidden to speak any other language than French in France. Let's explain. This is the oldest piece of legislation still in force in France. Articles never repealed and issued by François I in 1539, which is still in force today. This article imposed that the French language should be used exclusively in the documents relating to the public life of the kingdom. This was also a way to consolidate the king's power, as French became the official language of law and administration, replacing Latin, but also all dialects and regional languages. When you look at French history, you understand how language is a very efficient tool to establish power. The 2 next laws have been recently revoked, but it is still unbelievable they existed until so recently. So number 9. Parisian bakers couldn't take their holidays when they wanted. Yes, bread has to be available at all times in France. Every summer, bakers in Paris and its suburbs were required to open for at least 1 month, either in August or in July, depending on the year. Yes, French people take a full month of holidays in summer, or at least 2 or 3 weeks. So to ensure that no one is left without a baguette, the prefecture divided the Parisian bakeries into 2 groups, one of which may close in July and the other in August. Today, the possibility to regulate the annual closure of bakeries has now been cancelled, and the happy bakers can close whenever they want for a vacation. And number 10, in my opinion, the most absurd of all, women were forbidden to wear trousers in France until 2012. That's right. You heard me well. Until 2012, all women in France were outlaws when wearing trousers, unless they were riding a horse. A century-old law. In 1800, trousers were in fact reserved for men. And I quote, "Any woman wishing to dress as a man must present herself to the prefecture of police to obtain authorization." This law was issued not long after the French Revolution, in which women took a large part. See our national symbol, Marianne. This was a way for the empire, You see, it took a while to become a republic after the revolution, to remind women that the great effusions of the revolution were over. I'm relieved to know I'm no longer an outlaw, aren't you? I hope you liked this video. If you did, you can give it a like or subscribe to my channel to encourage me. Merci et à bientôt!